Hey, it's me. It's animated me. I'm your host, Andy Burrows, and it's time for another episode of Completed It. Movie reviews, pop culture, celebrity guests, and all that good stuff. Oh, and my good friend over there, Sasha Alari, is my co-host. Hey, Satch, hit the titles, brother. Welcome everybody back to another episode of Completed It, and as you can see, this is going to be a super episode of Completed It. You may have guessed we are all Superman fans. We dropped our review show at the weekend with all the boys and everything. To say it's split opinion. Well, I felt like I was going into battle at some stage with them boys. None of that here, though. We are here to talk all things Superman with super fans. In my top left, you can see from DC World and the Geek Garage, the legend himself, Mr. Paul Edwards. Paul, how are you, sir?
Oh, yes, I'm good, thank you.
It's good to have you back on, my friend. We had you when we very first started the show. You were one of our first guests back with Luke about 6 months ago. And as you can see at the bottom of my screen is a guy that I've got to know through social media and now meeting him in person when we've been seeing
Finally.
Superman more than once, shall we say. These two have literally flown across London in the last couple of weeks, flying onto the Completed It show. Neil Vagg. Neil, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me on. I'm glad we finally managed to make this work.
Yes, it is good, mate. It's good. Like I say, Neil, you've sat down and watched our review show that we put
Yep.
out on Sunday. As someone that talks about Superman and has seen the movie many times, what did you make of the boys' opinions on the review show?
They're all wrong.
Well, yeah,
No, I'm
thank you.
joking. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, obviously. It's just really, really interesting hearing how different people interpret different things in the movie. I mean, when you're on social media all the time, you get people constantly telling you that you're wrong and that your opinion is wrong, and then in actual fact, it's all crap and no one wants to watch it. But what I want to talk to people about and what I want to hear is what people have genuinely reacted to. So, hearing people tweet into you and saying, they felt Nicholas Hoult was really bland was like a massive eye opener. I'm like, I feel like he is chewing the scenery and he is loving every second. So it's really interesting hearing it. It certainly challenged some of my perceptions of the film, put it that way.
Yeah, no, it has. I mean, it's split. I heard the stuff I've seen and read, and obviously it's been really good. Paul, what have you made of the feedback from the movie so far? Obviously, you've seen it more than once. I went and saw it for the fifth time today. Full
You beat
disclosure.
me now. I'm on four.
Yeah, I see. Five for me. I went, somehow got my wife to go and see it with me. It was she's probably sitting up there. I did promise her a meal after that we didn't make. Well. But yeah, Paul, what have you thought of the feedback from the movie, my friend?
Now, obviously, I loved it, and I was going to love it from day one, just seeing how it was going to go. I would say David's now my second favourite Superman after Christopher Reeve after this, which is a tight one for me because I've always loved Cavill. Um, but today, even like this morning, I put a little tweet out on X of people's comments, and probably 99% of it has been positive. There's a few negative ones, and I can only imagine it's from the Snyderverse and all that saga going on. But the praise and the hope it's given me. I've even had friends go and see it today for the first time, texting all day, like how amazing it is. Some of these are big Marvel fans, and they've really enjoyed it. And the comments and to see what's coming through is really inspiring. And I do feel like we're all a similar age, probably. Like Christopher Reeve was probably a lot of our first Superman films. I feel like it's all happening again, and we've like had our life, and we've been born again, and now Superman's all happening again. It's like the first time of a new chapter. I think it's such a buzz. I love it.
When we done the review show, I mentioned that. I said for us it was Christopher Reeve. There's now a new batch that I said this on Sunday, that in 15, 20 years time, this will be the first time that they've
Yeah.
watched Superman. And it'll but then they'll someone like me or someone like their granddad or something be like, oh, this is the original Superman, like Christopher Reeve. And everyone will be like, oh, what? I think this is and that's what I'm trying to explain to people that are maybe not so much for this movie. I'm like, this is DC going, look, we've told you a story in the past of coming from a different planet and your planet blew up and this is your parents and this is a baby lifting the car. And I said that again on Sunday. This is them going, look, we're not going to insult your intelligence. That's what I loved about this movie. But in the first
Yep.
2 minutes of this movie, they've done that.
Yep.
The little bit, the bit that's for me that was genius from James Gunn, putting it in writing 300 years ago, 30 years ago, 30 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago. I thought
Yeah.
that was pure genius. It nipped everything in the bud because everyone was like, "Oh, I hope this isn't an origin story." And James Gunn, when we were all together a little over 2 weeks ago in London, and James Gunn said to us, he's not going to do that. He knows everyone knows the origin story. They
Yeah.
kind of skirted over it in different pieces of this movie without actually telling us the full backstory. It's like every time you go and see a Batman movie, we know his parents. Well, every time I see a Batman movie, I'm like,
The pearls.
don't walk down that alleyway.
Yeah.
Don't do it because that's never going to end well, you know. But I think James Gunn didn't insult our intelligence. Neil, what do you think of Operation DC Reset? Because, like again, like we said on Sunday, they tried it with Batman versus Superman. It
Yep.
didn't really work. The Justice League, it didn't really work, if I'm completely honest. And that's me being a super fan, which I am. Superman for me, it will always be the GOAT. But Neil, what's coming to you first, mate? What do you reckon on Operation Reset for DC? Because this is page one of the comic book for me. What are this
Yep.
movie? What do you
Yep.
think it's going to be like from this and moving forward?
I think we're in a really great position. You've got, if you watch Creature Commandos, which you now can because it is on Sky and now in the UK, finally we can go out and see the humble beginning of the DCU. If you watch that through Superman, you can see how much world building there is going on, and how that's going to lead to Batman or how that's going to lead to Wonder Woman, because within the opening 30 seconds of Creature Commandos, they mention Themyscira, they mention the Amazons. You immediately know they exist. You immediately know there's a huge history there, and then you come into Superman, and you're like, right, cool, okay. I've got a Man of Steel. I know where he's come from. I know he's been around on Earth for 30 years. For 3 years, he's existed in Metropolis. I've got a Justice Gang. Cool. Okay. Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, Metamorpho, Mr. Terrific, established. But then look at the wider world. We get Jitters, we get Big Belly Burger, we get Luther Corp, we get Stag Industries, we get Lord Tech. You've got Gotham on that road sign, which I know you picked up on in the review episode as
Thank you
well,
very much.
right there. There is just a massive, massive DC world that is already in the space of one 7 episode series, which is, only half hour episodes, and one 2 hour movie completely established.
Mm.
We now know that everyone lives with kaiju outside the window, or okay, we didn't call him Mr. Mixius Pidlick, but there was a interdimensional imp that was floating around Metropolis there. It's all done. It's all done and dusted now. Now we just go and we meet all the other people that are there. So I think really great position to be in. And you only need to look at the box office numbers this weekend to see that there is
122
there is
million.
an audience.
Yeah. What do you make to the people, Neil, that said they gave us all the characters too quickly?
I disagree. I can understand why people will feel that way because there are some people who are like you introduce and then you move on from there. But James Gunn said it perfectly when we were all at that HMV Q&A session. He said it perfectly, and he said it again at the fan event in London, which is if you're a comic book reader, unless you happen to have, been alive in 1938, you didn't start reading Superman with issue number one of Action Comics.
Mhm.
You picked up whatever was the first thing on the shelf that you saw when you went into the comic book store. And that probably meant that you came into it with Superman in the middle of a fight, in the middle of a story, in the middle of an event, in the middle of a team up. And that's how most people come to comic books. So why can you not come to a comic book movie that way as well? Into a world that is already established and already exists, and then you learn about it. Because what's not to say that they don't suddenly go, do you know what? People really love Hawkgirl. Let's do a 5 episode limited series on streaming that tells you how she came to be. Or you look at the Hall of Justice and that wonderful mural that's in the top of the
Oh,
frame.
there were so many
And
Easter eggs in that part of
yep,
the movie. It
you
was
see Wildcat up
unreal.
there. You see Jay Garrick up there. What's not to stop them from doing a, Justice Society World War II? I know we did the animated movie not that long
Hmm.
ago, but doing a live action TV series that does that as well. The potential at this point is endless, basically.
Mm.
It can go anywhere it wants in
Yeah,
any time, any time period.
fully agree. Paul, what do you think, mate, with the whole? Are you of the same opinion? First of all, what did you Like, did anything surprise you about this movie? There was the only thing I was upset was about there was quite a few trailers. And I don't get me wrong, I think that's becoming a modern day thing. I preferred
Yeah.
it I'm going to sound like a grumpy old man now. I preferred it when it was maybe like one or two trailers. That was it. I know people that went to this movie and didn't see I've got friends who refuse now to watch trailers because they're like, they give away too much. But what they did well with this movie was the trailers, what I thought was going to happen and what actually happened in the movie were two different things. You had the people looking at when you had them in the Daily Planet looking up at the screen. You were like, and then when you saw what they were actually looking at was like
Yeah.
them finding out that Superman had gone bad, etc., etc. But Paul, what really stood out for you in this movie? Was this a completely new Superman for you, or a lot of people are like, well, they've gone away from the origin story. If you really look at it, they haven't. They've paid homage to what we know as Superman, and they've tried to move on the DC universe.
I I went in with an open mind. Like I've learned, I'm really into the DC and Superman, so I will always watch the first, second trailer, and then I've learned from the second one, don't watch any more. None of the one
Wise.
minute TV spots. So I've stayed off of all of that on purpose because you do start to piece little bits together. And bits that I thought I had maybe have worked out were nothing like it in the film, and it's completely different. Always different when you go and see the film. Um, no, I loved it all. I loved the intro. That was a nice, new, fresh idea. I loved the way they did it. The theme tune, like, I can't get it out of my head. I know we all know the theme tune, but this new version, and I've been even playing it in the shop, the soundtrack today. I'm just buzzing for it, you know? Especially like, I'm a punk rocker. Yes, I am. I like that one.
What a way to end. Yeah, great way to put that in.
But no, I couldn't fault any of it. I loved it all. The thing, like my son, when the first trailers come out, he's like, "Oh, this looks like it's oversaturated. There's too many characters. They're going to try and explore this." I said, "No, I don't think they're going to world build each character. So you're going to have 20 minutes on Green Lantern, 20 minutes on
Imagine.
You're straight in." And as Neil said, there's plenty of opportunity for animated TV shows or little mini series, like the Penguin, things like this. There's a lot of stuff, and I think there's going to be a lot coming our way where they're going to get to explore a little bit more. We've got the Green Lantern series, we're going to see more there. Guy Gardner, spoiler alert, obviously, if no one's watched the new Peacemaker trailer, and some of the other characters popping up in Peacemaker next season, so I'm sure we're going to get a little bit in there. So overall, a lot of sense is coming, but I'm really excited. It's finally DC's time, and it's kicking off, and I'm all here. I'm so buzzing for it. Honestly, I can't wait.
Boys, James Gunn made this quite clear. Neil, you made a good point about the comic books. I said in the review show, for me, this was like turning pages of a comic book. The big bit when Superman was holding up what are we calling it? I don't know what was it? Like a
The kaiju.
kaiju. Yeah, sorry. When he's holding up the kaiju, I envisioned that as of a double page spread in a comic book.
Yeah.
I said that on the review show. That's how a comic book would end, and then you'd have to go and buy the next issue. That was James Gunn basically saying to everyone, this is for comic book fans. So many movies are made now, and you think, and like I know Neil says on the review show, you can't put everything that's in a comic book in a movie. But for me, this one, James Gunn, he done it perfectly. This was me like going, oh my God, here's another page, here's another page, here's another page. For you boys, is that the way that James Gunn's going to take this now? Is he going to be comic book, comic book, comic book? Because for me, this wasn't like an element of, oh, this is a Hollywood movie. I went and watched the Formula One movie not long ago, and that was a great movie, but Hollywood. For me,
Yeah.
this was true to the comics. Is that the way that James Gunn's going to take this franchise, Neil, in your opinion?
I think so, yeah. I don't want to take anything away from Marvel, but one thing that will always happen when a comic book movie comes out is someone will eventually say to me, I just watched that movie. What can I go and read that is like that? And people have probably heard me explain this before. I find it really difficult with Marvel because Marvel movies don't tend to do direct storylines. There'll be inspiration, but even, something like Civil War isn't exactly how it plays out in the comic book.
Hmm.
Whereas with James Gunn, you have someone who says, like if you go back to his Gods and Monsters announcement, and I know not everything that was in there is necessarily going to arrive the way originally it was envisioned. But if you look at what he was talking about, Batman Brave and the Bold as a movie, he was likening that to the Batman and Robin run that is sitting like right there, I think, behind me on the shelf. Um, or talking about All-Star Superman and Frank Quietly and how that inspired this movie. And he's someone who every single project that he talks about, he tells you about what the influences are from the comics, which I think tells you how not, it's not going to be word for word, page for page, but I think there's a lot more inspiration and there's a lot more synergy between DC's comics and DC's movies and TV shows than maybe you see with some of the other publishers when they adapt their material. So yeah, I think, sorry, short version, yes, I think this is going to stay pretty close, and he wants to have the comic book fans on board first and foremost, and then bring everyone else along for the ride.
Mm. Paul, one of the things, the big talking points in this movie, crypto. Everyone who I've spoke to hasn't got a bad. Did James Gunn hit that out of the park, or did he hit that out of the park again? And if you're not a comic book reader, you're probably thinking, why the fuck's there a flying talking? Why is
Flying
there
dog,
not talking?
yeah.
Why is there a flying dog? Mr. Terrific says it himself when he's looking through, and he's like, "Oh my god!" And that cracked me up every time I've seen that scene, and I've seen it quite a lot recently. When he's like, Squiddly Man, flying dog. It was absolutely
Uh,
brilliant. Was that again? Full kudos to James Gunn to say, look, this should be. It's never been in a Superman movie. You've never even mentioned, not heard of. It's been in the
Yeah.
animated series. This was James Gunn going, look, this for me, and I said it many times already. This is a love note to all comic book fans, and you can't have Superman without crypto. Paul, did they get that right? The crypto part, because that all these movies have like a comedic part. Everyone was just in the cinema. Even today, when I went again and I've seen it, I've seen it 5 times now. I'm still laughing at the same things. I thought he hit that out the park, mate.
he did. I'll never forget when they first said that crypto was coming, and knowing the teams James Gunn works with and still does the CGI blows it out of the park. And when that first trailer ever come, and then he whistles, and then crypto's coming through the snow, I was crying. I was sitting here watching it because we got early access back in the day when the first trailer come out, like a few days early. And
Yeah.
I was just sitting here, and we had like a one-time viewing, and the crypto bit come, and I was just sitting there buzzing, and I was like, that was just from that part of the trailer. It weren't even watching any of the rest. Um, Crypto, the film, brilliant, and I can't wait to get to see more. And what I'm more excited about is obviously Ace the Bat Hound could exist in this universe.
Very true.
Any other super pets? The other bit in Superman when Superman saved the squirrel, didn't he, Neil? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was like, oh, are they doing a little teaser Easter egg there for the Green Lantern squirrel down the line? I don't know. But I'm excited to bring the creatures in. One, it gets the kids involved. The kids love the animal side of it probably, and seeing a flying dog is something I'm all for in a superhero film. And I just love the way James Gunn can create these creatures and make your heart fall in love with them, like Rocket from the last Guardians film.
Yeah.
Just what he went through and what I wanted to do to that villain. It was just menacing. But what he does for the character, Crypto, spot on. Love to see more. I'd love to see the laser beams and all this going on in full on dog mode. But I'm sure we'll get to see more of him in the near future. I'm sure of it.
Hmm. Neil, what did you make of the we'll call them sub characters, even though they played a pretty, like, we'll say Lois Lane, Lex Luthor. So that's what pisses me off when people are like, oh, they've gone completely away from what they know. Well, you can't get more Superman than Lex Luthor. Lois Lane played a
Yep. Yeah.
prominent part in the movie. Jimmy Olsen played a great part. They played great homage to Miss Tessmacher, even when she was walking to the Fortress of Solitude in the suit. If you
Yeah.
watch the original suit, even then I'm like, well, they done everything that right. What did you make of all the little backstories that were going on in this movie?
I thought they were all great. I did actually. I had issue with one, and I find the way they characterized Jimmy Olsen is a bit weird to me. On first viewing, I was really unsure about this women fawn over him, but he's kind of a little bit nasty to Eve in a way. With she's locked in the server room, potentially about to get caught by Lex, and her life's on the line, and she's trying to send him information, and he's saying, "Do I really have to spend time with you?" I found that a little bit
The
weird,
whole
but.
weekend?
Yeah. I hadn't noticed until third viewing, I think, was that when she hugs him at the end, he does smile.
Mm.
There's a smile on his face that's like, okay, I'm glad she's okay. And that kind of gives me hope that there's a bit more to him, and it's a bit of a longer story about him becoming the Jimmy Olsen we know. But Lois, perfect. Absolutely perfect. And I will probably regret saying this, but I kind of feel like now when you go back to Man of Steel, there's not much chemistry between Henry Cavill and Amy Adams in comparison
To
to
this,
David
yeah.
Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan. I think both amazing actors in Man of Steel, but I don't feel they work very well together. Um, Lex, brilliant. He feels to me like a Lex that could have been written by Bruce Timm, which is probably about the highest compliment you can give. He feels like he's ripped straight out of an episode of the Justice League cartoon to me, or the Superman animated series.
Hmm.
Um, Eve, brilliant. Okay, she's maybe not traditional with being kind of a model and the influencer side of things, but in terms of how she played her, brilliant, and how the kind of flip that we all think she's this complete like
Well, she
camera.
was a genius.
Yeah, she, you think she's just addicted to taking selfies, and in actual fact, it's industrial espionage. Genius. Um, I would like to have seen more of the Daily Planet gang. It was cool getting a little glimpse of Kat and Steve Lombard, but would like to have seen a little bit more. Even Perry, I felt, could have been in it more. But then how do you can't give everyone tons of screen time because they will end up being 4 hours long and we'll all have gotten bored of it. So I want to see more of everyone, which I think is a very
Was
good.
there enough Clark Kent mentioned on the review show, as you say you
Hmm.
watched? They were everyone. The main gripe a lot of people had was we wanted to see
I
more of Superman as Clark Kent. I don't know what you
yeah,
boys did. You boys agree with that?
I think. I think it's really difficult because I think there's three different versions of him in that film. I think there is Superman publicly out saving the day in front of crowds. Then I think there's Clark at the Daily Planet or again just out and about in everyday life. Then I guess I'll call him Cal for the sake of it. Then there's Cal who is there's nobody around that I need to pretend I'm not who I am. And
Mm.
that is not Superman and that's not Clark, it's just him. And I feel like we spent a lot of time with just him and maybe not a huge amount of time with the Clark persona. Thought he did a really good job. All of the stuff in the Daily Planet was great. I enjoyed all of that. The relationship with Jimmy, the way that they were kind of all ribbing each other about his writing, him and Lois pretending like they didn't really know each other and have that relationship. I thought that worked really well. But I do think we need to spend a bit more time with who is Clark Kent? Who does the world see as Clark Kent? That would be
Mm.
interesting to see in a sequel.
Paul, one of the big talking points from this movie, did they get his parents right? Again, when you watch, I know you haven't watched the review show yet, but there was
Big talking point.
a heated debate, shall we say,
Yeah.
of they made them look, how can I word this with being polite? Not the most intelligent. I've got a lot of American friends, so I need to be very careful how I word this. They made them very southern and very farmer-like. And Neil was saying on the review show that was on with us, made them try to dumb them down. Was this a risky move from James Gunn to, or was this again coming back to the whole? This is going to be new. This is a whole new like university kind of thing, or was that the only one bit? And a lot of people are saying it. I've scrolled through a lot online. I've watched countless reviews on
Really?
YouTube. A lot of people are saying that they completely effed this up with his parents.
Ow.
Yeah, it's been a huge talk. I've been watching loads of review shows this morning. This bloody heat, I can't sleep. So I just find, well, I can't go to the cinema at 6 o'clock to watch the movie. So I might as well watch reviews. Paul, did you think they got that right with the parents? Because that's been the main pushback from what I'm seeing online right now.
Well, till you brought it up, I probably didn't really think about the parents too much, purely because we don't get to see a lot of them.
Yeah, there are not a lot of them, yeah. I think it's just
It
the
was
start when she's
interesting.
on the phone. Hey, Clark. And oh my God, people have lost their shit over that scene.
I know. I did find it weird watching it, and then her. It was probably weird pairing of casting, but are we used to Superman, Smallville, the casting we get from Arm Park Kent? Yeah, go with something different. The film's different to what we've ever seen, so yeah, throwing some different parents, see how it goes. Um, One interesting bit was when Lois landed the ship in the field, and she come over and goes, "Hi, I'm Martha." Like, well, she weren't expecting them. They didn't phone call ahead to say we're coming to Smallville. Like, can you look after him for 2 days? It was just a bit of a weird way they did it.
I want to know how
Maybe
she
some stuff was
navigated her
edited.
way there.
I wondered that as well, actually, because I thought I wasn't sure that she knew where he was from. Because when she'd
Yeah,
mentioned it earlier, he said, I won't say."
won't say. Yeah,
And then I thought, but is that purely for the interview, or is that, and have they had a conversation about it that we've just not been privy to?
yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
What do you think
So
of the whole
like,
parent thing, Neil? Are you of the same ilk? I don't know. Obviously, if you might not have seen much online, but everything that the review, a lot of reviews of, like, I'll try and find some links and send them to you later. A lot
That's
of them were like doing what we're doing, and but they were like, yeah, I didn't like where James Gunn went with the parents.
that's really interesting. I think people are just used to them exactly as Paul just said. You know, you had I'm going to forget the name of the actor that played her in Man of Steel, Diane Lane. Yeah. You had Diane, who was absolutely brilliant as Ma. You obviously had Kevin Costner in that iconic, somewhat memeable scene of the tornado. And you had really brilliant casting in Smallville. But if you go back to Christopher Reeve's Superman, or you look at a lot, not all, but a lot of comic book interpretations, they are supposed to be simple, and I don't mean stupid, I just mean simple, uh, humble farmers. They're not complex characters who become major, talking points in the DC universe. They're just supposed to be a loving set of parents. And that's what I think Gunn was trying to give us. I didn't have an issue with it. I get it. The accent is not what we've ever seen from them before on
Hmm.
film. But to me, they were exactly what I would expect them to be. They are humble Midwestern farmers who were just a loving set of parents to this young boy.
A lot. I commented on a couple of the reviews show because a lot of them were like, "Isn't his dad dead?" I'm like, "This is not the whole." But yeah, people clearly see the first Superman, saw this, and put two and two together and got 20. But yeah,
I suppose even if you go back to Lois and Clark, New Adventures of Superman,
yeah,
they were massive characters in that.
huge
They were
characters.
both very big personalities. So I
Mm.
think we're just really used to Superman adaptions making them more crucial than perhaps they are in the source material.
Mm. Paul, again, trying to play devil's advocate here as well, because a lot of people have messaged us and they want us to get into it, so I couldn't do it on the review show. A lot of people are saying they didn't get to see Superman be Superman a lot in this movie. Is that a fair? Because, and again, I guess this is what we're used to. If you go back to like the start of Superman Returns, Brandon Routh is literally pulling Lois out of a plane. He's putting a plane above his head, landing it on a baseball field. Man of Steel pretty much kicks off with a bang. This had a slow. You didn't really. This movie was the very first trailer that we saw when Superman lands and he's got the blood, and that's how it started. So it wasn't like it just went. And a lot of people that have mentioned that have commented on me saying, "Oh, Andy, I want to get people's opinions of. Did you think Superman was enough Superman in this movie?"
I would say it's an interesting way of putting it, but yeah, I would say yeah, when you sort of watching it back in your mind now, most of Superman was in that last sort of scenes with powers, laser beams, some of the stuff he pulls. I won't do spoiler bits, but fantastic to see on screen. Things we see Superman do that we've never seen on screen before, with all the music going and all that. And then when you sort of rewind back in the film, you realise, yeah, there's a lot of bits of Clark. There's no shirt rip, for instance. I would love to have seen that, but again, staying away from all the original and copying. I get it. We might get that in the next one with a bit more Daily Planet, which reminds me a bit more like the Lois and Clark New Adventures Daily Planet. I like it. I like the team. Um, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of Superman in it, but yeah, I get exactly how you're saying it. And like, do you get to see him as Superman? You saw him in a lot of ways, getting beaten, which was quite interesting. We was discussing this after we come out of like the third viewing on Friday. Like, he got beaten a lot in the film, or he got weak, and is this most powerful superhero like in the universe. It just showed how he could get beaten down by Lex. Lex knew everything about him. So yeah, when you're up against someone like that, it was like, yeah, brain over brawn, should we say, like they did in the film. Yeah, it's interesting though. I think maybe it's because they're well building, and it's we'll get a lot more Superman maybe in the next one. But yeah, interesting way of putting it. Yeah, I would agree in some way. When you sort of
Hmm.
after you put your second and third view in, you'll start taking a bit more in.
I've been doing that. Yeah, I'm doing that today. I'm going tomorrow. Yeah, it was. But Neil, do you think this is like I said on the review show that you watched? I think in 4 or 5 years' times, we're 4 or 5 years to come, we're going to look back at this movie and go, "That's why they done that. That's why they done that." When we're looking at a Supergirl movie that we know we're going to get, a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's how they introduced Supergirl." I was pissed off. My mate Ed, if you go on our YouTube channel, he commented that he was annoyed that Crypto wasn't Superman's. Everyone knows that Supergirl's got a cat, Superman's got a dog. These are these little, you've really got to be a super fan to get this. But he was like, no, Crypto's Superman's. is this a movie that, like I just said, in 4 years' time, we're going to have Supergirl, we're probably going to have a Green Lantern TV series, maybe movie, could have a Justice Gang, Justice Society, whatever they're going to call it. And probably, I'm going to guess in the next 4 years, Superman 2. James Gunn pretty much told us that they're going to make Superman 2 without actually telling us when we asked him when we were with him a couple of weeks ago. We know we're going to get a sequel to this. Neil, is this a what we call an Iron Man 1? Is this a setup movie for 10 years worth of DC work that's going to hit our screens, a la what they did in Marvel?
I think there is some of that, yeah. Um, when you think about the Justice Gang, for instance, they didn't really, other than a passing reference from Will Reeve, Christopher Reeve's son, other than that passing reference in his newsreel where he says that they're sponsored by Max Lord, there's not really any exploration of that. If you see the Lord Tech building, you know that that's the logo that's on their uniforms, but we don't explore that. That's a storyline for the future for sure. Much like the Justice Hall of Justice being built, there are definitely things in there that are for payoff later down the line. The Kara thing is really funny. I've had so many trolls on Twitter say to me, "Why
No,
would
there's
James
no
Gunn?"
trolls on Twitter, Neil.
That just one
No,
or two, just one or two.
I don't believe it.
Saying the same thing, which is, why would he completely F up Supergirl by introducing her like that? And it's like, well, actually, on page one of the Woman of Tomorrow comic book, she is face down on a table in a bar on an alien planet because she is so messed up by the PTSD of having watched everyone she loved die as the world around her crumbled that she's never gotten over it. It's like that is how that starts. Supergirl is not going to be like Superman. It's not going to be a family-friendly movie. It's going to be a more grown-up darker psychological story about this poor person who has watched her entire world fall apart and has then ended up on this other planet where her cousin is suddenly the like treated like a god and is this superhero to the people, and all she can think of is everyone I love died. So it's yeah, it's funny. But there are definitely, sorry to actually answer your question, there's definitely loads in there which is setting up what is to come in the future, but I don't think it's quite as heavy-handed as some of the early Marvel stuff was. Like, we didn't have a post-credit scene that was quite literally, here is the Avengers Protocol. It's not quite that heavy-handed, but it's definitely there.
This is why you're good, Neil. I was literally getting to the post-credit scene, my friend. What did we make of everyone that's watching this has probably seen the Superman movie right now.
I hope so, because we're getting spoilery.
It was literally Superman and Crypto, and then you had to wait a good 10 minutes to see Mr. Terrific and Superman argue over a crack in a building, and Mr. Terrific was basically like, well, what do you want me to do? Put it back the way it was. Did they do that right, Paul? Because a lot of people, again, what I've read and spoke to, and one of my good friends who is the biggest Superman fan ever, he thought we were going to get a teaser for the Supergirl movie. And I'm like, I like the fact that DC haven't gone a la Marvel. And I know I'm going to go and see the Fantastic Four in 3 weeks, knowing that it's going to set up Doomsday. It's pretty much what's going to be the end of that movie, and why a lot of people are really, let's be honest, they're going to go and see that movie. I'm glad James Gunn just went, no, I'm not giving you anything. I'm teasing you with Supergirl walking into Fortress of Solitude, pissed out of her head. Brilliant. Loved it. Funny as hell. Paul, did they do the end credit scene right? And did you like the fact that they just left it and was like, yeah, we don't really know. We can speculate. Superman 2, Green Lantern, etc., etc. Did you like the way they ended the movie?
I did. I loved that the way that the bits that were in the end credits we've sort of already seen during the making and the
Hmm.
promos. Like they'd already showed us that a long while ago, and just the fact in the end credits was great. Like Deadpool, the end of Deadpool didn't really show you in the next film. It's just the comical ending, and I like the crypto bit was nice with Superman on the moon.
Yeah.
But obviously Crypto's just gone off with Supergirl, so why was he back with Superman in that bit? And then the bit with Mr. Terrific at the end, I think it was just a bit of fun, a bit of a quirky, comical moment, which I liked. Maybe they took that out of the film and put it in there just to do it as
Yeah.
a again. I think doing it this way, you're right, with the Avengers, oh yeah, look, we're going to this and we're going to that, and we know where this is coming. None of us know what's coming now, and I like that there's so many questions, like Ultraman going into the black hole. Is he coming back as Bizarro? Blah blah blah. I like having all these questions, and
The
we'll get all the
engineer with the engineers maybe not dead. We No one knows that, and she
that as
definitely,
well.
she
Yeah, forgot
definitely,
about
she.
that one.
There's people messaging me going, "Well, she didn't change the message." I'm like, she fucking did, you donut. She 100% changed the message from Superman's parent. And I've had so many arguments in the last 24 hours. It's been
I'm not sure that
unreal.
she did.
Oh,
You know,
no? You don't think so?
Well, the version of it that I know the most from the comics, and again, bear in mind, there's been many different versions of it in the comics over the years, and many times where it's been changed, not been changed, been whatever. Um, it does normally reference humans as being very simple people. It's just that they took it ever so slightly further here to the rule over them part. So I don't know. And I don't think that we're trying to suggest that Kryptonians are villains. I definitely, someone texted me and they were like, "Oh my God, they made Jor-El a villain." I'm like, I don't think they did. I don't think they did. I think, I think we're just saying that they saw themselves as superior and not in a villainous way, just in a we are this elevated, scientific, noble planet of people who happen to completely mess up our own atmosphere and cause ourselves to die. Um, so I'm not sure. I'm not convinced that that message has been changed.
Okay. Ah, interesting. Interesting. James Gunn said we're going to see Superman quicker than we might have.
Maybe
Where
next month.
do, yeah, that's my question. Where do we see him next? Do we, a lot of people again, wait, I think it's going to be next month. Uh, Supergirl going to crop up in that? Is the Supergirl movie going to, he's got to crop up in that. In your opinion, boys, what would you like to see next with the Superman character? What do you think we'll get? Paul, I'll come to you first, mate.
I'm hoping he'll pop up in Peacemaker. Seems to be it's all been filmed at the right time. Certainly Supergirl as well. They may have done some bits for that already. Um, and whatever else. I'll take Superman in absolutely anything going at the minute. So if he pops up in Green Lanterns, if he pops up in Supergirl, smashing job. But yeah, I'm all for it, and I'm glad that ever since James Gunn announced they're going to try and use all the same actors in the TV, the film, the cartoons, the
Great
games.
move, that.
I'm all for like how they're going to merge everything, and we've already seen some of the characters that are popping up in Peacemaker, and it's so quick and it's just coming straight out. So literally, it took a few years to get here from when they announced all this, and now it's starting to happen. It's coming thick and fast. So um, I think he's going to pop up in Peacemaker soon.
Neil, what
Yeah,
about you?
I
What are
think
you
so too.
hoping for the future of the DCU?
I think it's going to be a return favor cameo for John Cena turning up in Superman. So
Yeah, we're not
I'm
going to see
fairly
Superman at WrestleMania, put it that way.
I am I'm fairly convinced he's going to make an appearance there. After that, I don't know. I do hope that he turns up in Supergirl. I hope that they, you know, that film ends with her kind of resolving her issues and back on Earth. Maybe she'll crash back into the fortress and he'll be there. And that'll be setting up what comes next. I do hope that he gets a sequel that has less world building to do. Be nice to see a Superman 2 that's very Superman focused. Um, but World's Finest? Not next.
Well, I was going to say
Not
nothing.
next. I want a Batman movie first to set up a Batman before I see Superman and Batman share the screen. We've been there. We've done it once. We didn't do it very well. Let's not make that mistake again. Let's set up a Batman and then please give me both of them. Because this feels like, if anyone's reading the current World's Finest comic book, this feels very much like Mark Waid's World's Finest Superman. So if we get his version of Batman as well, I will be a very happy man.
Well, cool. No, I agree. Yeah, I've never been the biggest Batman fan. I'm not gonna lie. I'm one of them. He's a cool guy with a belt. Sorry, boys. It's just always been my. I've always been when they made this Batman versus Superman movie and completely ruined it, in my opinion. I was done. And then I saw the new Batman film and I was like, this ain't great. But
Really me back in.
yeah, I love James Gunn. So look, if James Gunn says he's going to do it, he's going to take it here, there, and then I'm for it because I think the man is an actual genius. And hearing him talking, hey, that's still what 2 weeks ago now. Hearing him talk and being like 20 yards away from him and interacting with him, for me, I know the DCU is in safe hands. Boys, if you had to sum up the current Superman movie in a sentence, Paul, how would you sum it up?
I would say that it's a whole new Superman story for the new generation and a whole new beginning.
Nice. Neil?
I'm going to butcher this because I didn't write it down at the time, but after Paul and I saw this film for the very first time, when they surprised us with it, we had no idea we were going to watch it. I said something, and I said it just off the top of my head without even thinking, and someone from Warner Brothers wrote it down because they thought it sounded awesome. Can't quite remember how I worded it, but it was something along the lines of, "This is the closest I have ever felt to the comics that I have been reading for my entire life in a film."
Yep. Yep. That's how I'm the same with everyone I've spoke to. I've mentioned it on here. I mentioned it last week. This is like turning a page of a comic book. I'm literally sitting there turning pages. I can't wait to see what James Gunn does with it. I can't wait to see where the DCU go. I think it's going to be incredible. I know you boys are going to be super busy, pun intended, coming up. But boys, thank you so much for coming on the show. Neil, it was an absolute pleasure to meet you a couple of weeks back, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago now. And then I bumped into you. You were dressed as Superman at the Warner Brothers. I was like, I know that guy standing over there. Come over, saw you,
That
mate.
guy
We
in
had
the
a quick
cape.
chat. You had a cape on, mate. It was brilliant. Paul, I told you when I had you on, mate, you're one of the main reasons I started doing what I'm doing. Absolutely love what you do with the Geek Garage. I remember you sitting on your phone on Instagram, just doing videos, literally in a garage, filming. I was like, this guy's really cool. He talks about the things that I like. So now to see you in person, call your friends, see what you're doing. I'm definitely going to come down to the Geek Garage within the next month. I know you and I are going to do some great stuff together. We'll hopefully do some filming. Neil, this won't be the last time that we have you
Nope.
on here, mate. There's going to be so much stuff that I hope that we
Can't
can
get rid
do
of me once
together.
you've had me on once.
No, but honestly, boys, I absolutely love what you do. I mean, people, content creators and everything, they get shit on a lot, I think, but there are really, really good ones out there, and you two are definitely up there as well. And our good buddy Luke the Geeker still, that man has got to be one of the hardest working men in the industry. But boys, keep doing what you're doing. I really do appreciate you coming on. Anyone that wants to check out our show, as always, go on to YouTube, just type in Completed It Podcast. We're carrying on our Marvelous Mondays. We've got some more film reviews. We've got some very special guests coming on. One of them is going to absolutely blow your mind. Our boys, I'll tell you when we stop recording. You might have to sign something though. But yeah, you can find us on you can find us on Twitter at Completed It Pod. But we'll be back later on next week with more episodes of the show. But till then, everyone, stay super and stay safe.
Right.
Feeling overwhelmed by the challenges of daily life? Struggling with anxiety, stress, depression, phobias, fears, or just trying to get yourself back again? Discover the transformative power of focused solution hypnotherapy and counseling. Through guided hypnotherapy, relaxation trance allows your subconscious mind to access your inner resources and strengths you didn't know you had. Book your free consultation today and let's start your journey together. For more information, please email Sharon at scm-therapy.me